Hello everybody, my name is Irakli. I'm a director of strategy at a group called API Academy, which is part of CA Technologies. Today I want to talk to you about freedom of APIs. We live in very interesting times. There used to be a popular saying that a single issue of New York Times contains more information than an average person in 17th century would encounter during their entire lifetime. Of course, this was back in the days when New York Times was still thinking in the terms of issues and editions and print, and now it's all digital. So that sounds like something archaic, and now it's all about a continuous stream of information that never seems to stop or even take a break. So this global overwhelming amount of information that we're constantly exposed to can be pretty overwhelming. And it's only normal that sometimes we wish we lived in simpler, less turbulent, actually not as interesting times. We wish that maybe we could just disconnect sometimes. How many of you are familiar with the concept of digital detox? Right? It's a rare thing that some of us can use to at least stay relatively sane. Well, all that said, the unprecedented increase in the available data is not all evil, however. That increase in data is actually what gives us some very beautiful things, like transparency, like the unprecedented feeling of global connectedness, right? We feel more connected to the rest of the world than we ever did in the history. At the same time, we still live in very interesting times, and the advancement in technologies and computers and the internet itself has brought us really close together. We now take it for granted that we can be anywhere in the world and still be able to take the front row, almost real-time view of the breaking news that may be happening all the way on the other side of the globe. So that's really nice. But at the same time, the disappearance of informational barriers have caused another thing, which is the surfacing of our most polarizing differences. The globalized world is the world of clashing dissents. It leaves very small amount of space for comfortable, isolated disagreement at distance. We really are in each other's faces in this day and age. And yet we want more information, we want more data. It is because when you put information in the hands of the public, it is the most powerful weapon to guarantee our freedom and our liberties. We do live in very interesting times. And a lot of very interesting things have happened recently. One of the more interesting things that have happened in the recent years is the Open Data Initiative. The Open Data Initiative still has a very long way to go, but at the same time, never before were we able to get as much access to as much government data at all levels, state, federal, etc., and internationally as well. More than that, it's almost real-time access to the data directly over the internet. And for those of you who are engaged in the advocacy would probably agree that the timeliness of the access to the government data is as important, if not more important, as just the fact of access to the data. The technology that allows and facilitates this timely access to the data is the APIs. Are people generally familiar with the APIs? It stands for Application Programming Interface, which really says nothing, but you can think of it as basically pipelines that are able to transmit very large amounts of data across the internet reliably and efficiently. And APIs were not invented for the open data. APIs really were developed for our mobile lifestyle, right? APIs are the means by which the mobile applications on the smartphones connect to the cloud and the data sets and functionality they need to operate. And it's beyond denial that APIs have played a critical role in the mobile revolution that we're enjoying now. For the APIs to play a similar role in the open data revolution, however, they will have to become much, much better. One of the biggest challenges with the APIs currently is that for most of the APIs, even in the best case, they provide a very narrow view in the very solid walls that the data are put on an island behind those walls. Even for the largest APIs, like the ones from Google and Facebook and Twitter and others that you may be familiar with, those APIs can only work on the data that is kept in their own databases. And that's a pretty big problem, because what we have with that, like let's take Twitter for example. With Twitter's public API, which is a public API, we can do a lot of interesting things. But at the end of the day, all the content that gets created on the Twitter platform is stored on their own servers. So in this, the same is true for Facebook, and government is even worse, because for most government APIs, there is no write access. It's mostly read-only APIs. And this is a problem because what these APIs have done is they created these highly guarded, siloed islands of data. And that is extremely anti-web, because the World Wide Web was created on the principle of decentralized, participatory ownership of data. On the World Wide Web, everybody publishes everywhere. Everybody owns their own websites, blogs, whatever. And we're still able to get to this content through hyperlinking, through search, feeds, and other means. And APIs have a very long way to go to reach that level of maturity. In the case of APIs, the data storage is extremely centralized. And virtually none of the APIs, none of the big APIs, link to the content in another API. So what we need is really, we need a new breed of APIs. We need APIs that I call linked APIs. Those are the APIs that are based on the same architectural principles that the World Wide Web is based, which is hypermedia. And if we build such APIs, it can have really big impact on open data specifically. Because hypermedia linked APIs are really good at linking content. They are really good at connecting data sets across organizational boundaries, across data sets. They're also extremely scalable, so they are really ready for the big data challenges. Because the most scalable system, the very large distributed system that humankind has ever created is World Wide Web, and linked APIs share the same architecture. But most importantly, we need linked APIs if we care about free data on the web. We can only have truly open and free data if we jailbreak data from the silos that they have been stashed at. Linked APIs provide keys to the data fortresses, where the large data aggregators have imprisoned our data. Linked APIs ensure that our data is not going to be stashed away in some scary data warehouses where only a select few dominant organizations have control of this data. Linked APIs are the keys to the freedom of the data on the web, and linked APIs are the engines for such freedom. We really need to get this engine cranking. Thank you.